Hi, everyone. This is Leonard Hall, and for my Intro to Religion project of the President's Faith, I chose Barack Obama. The reason why I chose this project was because in recent memory, I don't think there's another president where the discussion or controversy or even the topic of their faith has come into question more than President Obama. So, not saying I was looking for an easy topic or something easy to work with, but it just really made more sense to me. So, that's how I began my project. So, let's kick it off. All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, Barack Obama, the 44th president of the United States, is undoubtedly one of the most polarizing figures in not only politics, but also the popular culture of the entire world. Few people have been able to capture the unheard of amounts of fascination, admiration, and hatred of so many people simultaneously. And, really, when I think about it, he was really the first person I really heard of when this whole era of fake news and internet misinformation became ushering in was his faith. There were so many lies and propaganda and crap being thrown out that it was really hard to know what was truth and what wasn't. And some of the stuff he just heard, he was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. But, it was really the first time. And I think it really opened the floodgates for what we know as fake news or misinformation. And I'm not a political chaser by any stretch of the imagination, but from looking from the outside, that was one of the first times that I really noticed, wow, that this is ridiculous information being passed online and through other media outlets. Um, and throughout his presidency, he was a vocal advocate for religious tolerance and interfaith dialogue. And this combined with a unique personal background, he was a son of a Black Kenyan father that he barely knew and a white American mother. And the current age of false news and misinformation, like I said before, has caused many to wonder and create false narratives concerning his religious beliefs. I mean, again, like I said before, it was astounding what they threw at this man. But I was very impressed by how he stood through it all and how he responded through a lot of it. By his own profession and others, Obama is a practicing Christian and was officially baptized in 1988 under the United Church of Christ by way of Trinity United Church of Christ, which is a predominantly Black church in the South Side of Chicago. And he began attending there in his 20s while he was living in Chicago, working as a community organizer. Most people, if you know the history, President Obama was born in Hawaii. He grew up there. He spent a little time in Indonesia when his mother remarried, but primarily his upbringing was in Hawaii. And he attended Harvard. And after Harvard, that he found himself doing community organization work in the South Side of Chicago. And if you've seen the movie South Side with You, I think that's the name of it, where it talked about the early days where he met his soon-to-be wife and how the work they were doing in the community of Chicago kind of also developed a romance and an alliance that really created an amazing power couple that really led us all the way to the White House. It's a beautiful story, but like I said, around that time that the movie took place in his 20s is when he began attending the Trinity Unity Church of Christ. And I think there was even a controversy with the pastor of that church, which caused him to leave that church, but still remain a practicing Christian. And although it's highly inaccurate, it's understandable that some could believe the narrative that Obama is, or at least has been, a Muslim. His birth father, whom he only lived with as a baby, was a Muslim raised atheist. And his stepfather was Indonesian and was considered to be nominally Muslim. It has been documented that while Obama lived in Indonesia as a child for a short time, he attended a Catholic school. And part of the false news that came out was that while he was in Indonesia, he was a practicing Muslim and he was in certain different sects of extreme Islamic terrorists and all that. And that was never been documented or proven. The records that we have was that he did attend a Catholic school in Indonesia. And once he got back to the States, and lived with his grandparents in Hawaii, he attended a public secular school. All right. And it can be assumed that Obama's earliest exposure to Christianity came from his maternal grandparents, who are credited with a large portion of his upbringing. They were both considered to be Protestant Christians, but like Obama said in an earlier post that I heard, he said his family did not go to church regularly. So he got that foundation of Christianity from his grandparents. And he also said that his mother was also a very spiritual person, but they weren't the every like clockwork, every day go to church type of people. But that faith and that those roots and seeds were planted for Christianity in his earlier days. And like I said, that can be attributed to the upbringing that his grandparents gave him. But while Obama began the journey to eventually become one of our presidents, he also began to encounter several conspiracy theories centered around his faith, his citizenship, and even his ethnicity. And this is where things get just out of hand, because of the name Obama, the similarities to different Muslims and terrorists and Osama bin Laden. I mean, I've seen all kind of memes and false information and propaganda flying around. And in this slide right here, I just put two little photos that I found while searching the net that was just absolutely ridiculous. And I always wondered, what was the motive behind some of this? Was it just to be comical? Was there a desire to throw this man in the bus, to just bear false witness on him? It was really ridiculous, man. It was one of the most embarrassing times to be an American, in my personal opinion, and that I encountered. I was really ashamed at how they did this man, but I at the same time I was very impressed with his poise, his resilience, and his integrity. Not once did he lash out. He kept it absolutely professional. And regardless of what people think of his policies, man, you gotta respect and tip your hat to a man of that integrity. And during this time, chain emails making ridiculous accusations, they began to make their way around inboxes all over the world. Among those claims were stories of the then Senator Obama being sworn in with the Quran instead of the Bible that he owned. And then there was also one claiming that his middle name was Muhammad, and it's actually Hussein, which is an inherited name from his father, which explained the whole connection and the whole similarity in the name. But, just look at some of the memes that I pulled in these slides right here. For the guy was like, when I heard Trump took out the leader of ISIS, I thought he got Obama, or ridiculous stuff like comparing Obama to Hitler, or saying a meme where he says, what I meant to say was Islam is a religion of gullibility. He never said that. And he was always a man that pressed for interfaith dialogue, showing he urged that we all respect each other's faith and beliefs, and we could all coexist and get along regardless of those beliefs. Now, this quote I got from a post that I found online, and I documented the date of September 27th, 2010, when he pretty much just professed his Christianity. He says, I'm a Christian by choice. My family didn't. Frankly, they weren't folks who went to church every week. And my mother was one of the most spiritual people I knew, but she didn't raise me in the church. So I came to my Christian faith later in life. And it was because the precepts of Jesus Christ spoke to me in terms of the kind of life that I would want to lead, being my brothers and sisters' keepers, treating others as they would treat me. And I think also understanding that Jesus Christ dying for my sins spoke to the humility we all have to have as human beings, that we're sinful and we're flawed and we make mistakes, and that we achieve salvation through the grace of God. But what we can do, as flawed as we are, is still see God in other people and do our best to help them find their own grace. That's what I strive to do. That's what I pray to do every day. I think my public service is part of that effort to express my Christian faith. And honestly, if you really look at that man's political career, regardless of what you think in his political decisions, regardless of what you think, you have to you have to say that man had integrity and that he stuck to his faith. There were no scandals, no immorality, no cheating on his wife. This man tried his best to live a Christian life, in my opinion. Now, throughout his political career, Obama has been open about his Christian faith, and in his memoir, the book of The Audacity of Hope, which was a New York Times bestseller, he writes about his conversion experience and the role that faith has played in his life. He has often cited his Christianity as as a source of inspiration and strength, and he has talked about how his faith has helped him navigate difficult times. And that's really speaks to a lot of believers, a lot of people of multiple faiths, being able to pull on your own faith and draw inspiration from that. And I truly think that you couldn't expect anyone following their faith to receive any more than that. Now, Obama's religious beliefs have been characterized by a commitment to social justice and a belief in the importance of community. He's spoken frequently about the need for people to come together and work towards common goals. He's also emphasized the importance of empathy and compassion, qualities that he sees as central to his faith. Now, that's one thing I just 1000% agree with, because in this current state that we live in this country particularly, we honestly lack empathy. We lack compassion for our fellow man. We disregard people's beliefs. We disregard their quality of life and the things that keep them grounded and centered. These were things that Obama said that he felt were essential for us to get along and to strive together in this country, let alone this world. Now, in conclusion, Obama's faith has had a profound impact on his life and his presidency. It shaped his values, his worldview, and his approach to politics, and it has helped to foster greater understanding and cooperation between people of different faiths. Like I said, that is President Obama's legacy. Not even looking at policies and political agenda, but that was that man's number one goal. He wanted to foster a greater understanding and cooperation between people. He wanted people to understand and understand that we all have differences, but we should be able to put these differences aside for the greater good of humanity. And that's something that I have to salute the president for. And in my conclusion, I think his faith has been an absolute powerhouse key to his professional legacy and his political legacy and his personal legacy. Now, my works cited, in my research, I went through a lot of different things. Looking at books, I looked at one of the main ones was The Audacity of Hope, which is his own memoir, and I have a copy of that. And I scattered around different online sources like biography.com, a few other ones, a few PBS articles. Anything that I can find, as you can imagine, looking for President Obama and anything pertaining to his faith, I found a plethora of information, and I was able to put all that together, and I've cited my works here. And this concludes my presentation, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And I really have enjoyed this assignment and this class. It really has put a lot of I don't know if I will say stereotypes about religions, but it really has broadened my respect and increased my worldview of the other religions in this world. I am, by my own profession, a Christian, but I have received a better understanding for the other major religions in this world, and I'm completely grateful for that. All right. Have a great day, and I thank you again for your time. Goodbye.